Hello everyone, and my name's Scott. We are parked on quite a precarious angle here, all in order to get you that shot of an African harrier hawk sitting up in the tree. It's a wonderful, wonderful afternoon here in the Sabi Sands. We're in South Africa in the Greater Kruger National Park. It's a massive ecosystem that we are certainly going to enjoy exploring this afternoon. We're only in a tiny little portion of the 3 million hectare plus reserve, but there's a lot of animals about, and the game viewing has been phenomenal over the last few weeks. Now, like I said, that was an African harrier hawk up in that tree, and I did see some African hawk eagles flying around earlier, but they seem to have disappeared. So a few birds of prey are out and about, and it's been fairly warm today, even though it has been a little bit overcast. There's been a lot of clouds coming in and going out, but it is a winter's afternoon. But we're quite lucky here with the weather, and we don't have to worry about rain. Even though there are clouds about, it's very unlikely that we'll experience rain this afternoon. I'm teamed up with Bryan on camera, and Brent is out on the other vehicle with VM, and they've gone out in search of the Inkahuma pride of lion. Brent was lucky enough to locate those lions this morning, but they were fast asleep for the majority of the time he spent with them. They are very hungry though, and moved a huge distance last night through portions of Djuma, Sibambili and Arathusa. They probably moved about 5 or 6 miles last night, possibly more, but hunting along the way, and that hunting is very tiring. So they are certainly going to be looking for a meal sometime later this afternoon, hopefully during the broadcast. So that's something to look forward to. The plans for Bryan and myself, we're not too sure yet. We thought we'd come out here to start off the drive and look for any tracks of anything interesting and hopefully find some animals drinking. We're at the Buffelshoek waterhole, and we'll take you on a quick journey of it. We're not parked on the best position now, but there was nobody other than the African harrier hawk that we could see. But there are also 2 nostrils poking out of the water, and they belong to a hippopotamus. As Bryan zooms in, he's just disappeared under the water, and it'll probably be about 2 minutes before he comes up to take his next breath. I was sitting here the other afternoon, and he would generally hold his breath from anywhere between 2 and 2.5 minutes, and then take about 10 or 15 seconds to resupply his oxygen before taking his next breath. So it'll be a bit of a wait before that hippo takes a breath. This is a beautiful torchwood tree, and in the little gap in the trunk of that tree, you can see the African harrier hawk. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear, it's quite faint and far off, but there are some squirrels alarm calling at that African harrier hawk. Chicka 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 is my impersonation, which is a terrible one. But you may hear the tree squirrel's call being rattled off, warning all other potential prey items to be cautious of this bird. It typically hunts in cavities in trees, and has got specially designed double-jointed legs to be able to fit into these cavities and try and pluck out baby birds or monitors or rodents, lizards hiding in these holes. So that's what it would typically be hunting on. The African hawk eagles that I saw flying above a little bit earlier that have disappeared are more hunting from the wing straight onto prey. So you get a lot of different predatory birds in this area that hunt differently and occupy different niches. I'm just going to reverse the vehicle and be able to show you a different view. And thankfully, some of our viewers have provided some great intelligence as to what is going on Arathusa, and they've done that because there's a live waterhole camera on Arathusa, at the Arathusa waterhole, as well as at Djuma. And the report is that there was some elephant drinking at the Arathusa waterhole, and Brent is actually going to head off there. The lion were on Arathusa, so probably after he's viewed the elephant, and I'm sure he's going to call you along to join him when he gets there, he will probably head to the lion a little bit later. So he's diverted the plans. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, it's important to know that this is a live safari. So There's nothing scripted, and we kind of just have to go with the flow, and this is a perfect example of that. His initial plans were to go to the lion, but now he's diverted off to the elephants, and our plans will probably change a number of times during the course of the drive. What is also great about the live safari is that it allows us to be interactive, and we can answer your questions that are really easy to send through. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And that way we can not only answer your questions, but we can hear your comments and feelings, and that way we can fine-tune the safari for you. Let's take a look around now that we're on a slightly better angle and see what else is happening here. Got an interesting question through from Dennis, and he's informed us that there's a North American harrier hawk, and he's wondering if this harrier hawk hunts in a similar fashion. It could well, and Dennis also mentioned that the North American harrier hawk flies quite low over the canopies of trees looking for potential prey, and so does the African harrier hawk. The reason why is it wouldn't make sense to be very high up, because most of its prey are going to be plucked out of cavities in trees, and in order to see these cavities, he can fly low into a tree and actually hop through the tree looking for holes in which he can dig in his talons and hopefully pry something out. Now, I'm not sure if the American harrier hawk also plucks prey out of holes, but this is highly specific and specialized adaptation for this African harrier hawk. And I've never heard of them or seen them actually catching prey other than that. Now, I must be careful, just because I haven't seen it, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And I'm sure if it was to see a chameleon crossing the road, it wouldn't bypass that opportunity. But the majority of hunting I've seen it do is clambering through trees, actually looking for holes in which to find its prey. What I'd like to do is try and get us a little bit closer to the tree squirrels that are busy alarm calling at it, just so that you can not only see but also hear the tree squirrel's alarm call. And it's a very useful call for us all to know, because it can alert us to not only birds like the... Let's try this again. Oh. On the way there, we may just get through. Oh, off it goes, but Bryan's so quick, thankfully, that it hasn't taken him long to join you in its flight. Such a pretty bird of prey with that bright yellow face. And it's gone. And that means the tree squirrels in all likelihood will stop alarm calling now. So again, like I said earlier, the plans will change quite constantly through the show, and we are no longer going to find you the tree squirrels alarm calling, but hopefully what we will find you are some fresh male cheetah tracks. Yes, you heard right, cheetah tracks. We don't see many cheetah here in the Sabi Sands, and only on, I think, 3 different drives have we actually managed to capture them on film in about 7 or 8 months of being here. Now, the report that we got is that there have been 2 male cheetah moving from the property to the north of us in a south and westerly direction towards us. And possibly we could get lucky. Oh, look, there's the African hawk eagle, it looks like. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no, that's something else. But what it means is maybe there's another tree squirrel alarm calling nearby. What could that be? I'm going to have to get some binoculars onto it. And I just want to get a little bit closer so that you too can also have a look. It's definitely a fairly big bird of prey. I'm not sure what kind. No! It's off. That is a great pity. Well done to Bryan for getting you those views that you did get out of it. And if any of you fancy a guess as to what you think that bird of prey may be, please help me, because I don't have a clue. Oh, did you see that?
Oh, I missed that.
Sorry, it's all happening, but let's keep filming out there, Brian. There could still be a bit more action. I just saw what I think is the African hawk eagles we saw earlier plummeting out of the sky in that direction. Well, sorry for taking you on a bit of a wild eagle chase here, but it appears that they're further off to the left here, Brian, in the gap, but I think they're too far off. Well, again, apologies for not being able to show you exactly what we saw there, but it was quite tricky, and all of a sudden I noticed this one bird of prey plummeting straight out of the sky towards that unknown raptor that flew off. Anyway, we're going to carry on looking for these cheetah that have hopefully headed in this way, and it sounds like Brent has found the action that he was heading off to, so enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone. Oh, welcome, sorry. My name is Brent. I got Willem, aka the Wildebeest, on camera with me, and we're on a live African safari, and we're currently dealing with a bit of afternoon traffic. So we got the report that there was a breeding herd of elephant at the Arathusa Dam, and we weren't too far away, so we rushed off to join them, and at the moment they are using the road almost perfectly. So we're just sitting in low range and ticking on very slowly behind them as they walk down the road. Interestingly enough, we did check where the Nkahuma Pride was, and these guys are actually on their way directly towards where the lions are. So the lions might get a rude awakening from their afternoon nap. But a really nice big breeding herd. And there are actually still some young bulls actually walking behind us, sort of hanging on the peripheries of the herd. A little bit of dust bathing. Trunk in our general direction for a quick sniff. Yes, you're very scary. Now, carrying on. Just checking out behind us, there are still two elephant bulls, young elephant bulls behind us. They seem to be taking the shortcut around through there to join. So the lions are probably only 100 meters from here at the moment, and the elephants are heading straight towards them. So we could be in for a bit of a trumpet and chasing session. If I do get the opportunity, I am going to try and get in front of the elephants so we can be where the lions are when they start chasing. But obviously I'm only going to do that if I feel there is a safe opportunity to get around in front of this herd. This herd seems to have quite a lot of youngsters with them, which could make them particularly aggressive towards the lions. Some really big cows in this herd. I mean, these three big individuals here are really, really big female elephants. They do seem to be spreading out a little bit more, and that quite often happens when elephants start feeding. It's always really, really wonderful to spend time with a nice breeding herd of elephants. Tiny little guy there. So definitely well under a year old, probably closer to around 6 months. Now, lions are just around this next corner, just off to the right. So quite a lot of youngsters with this group, which could make them even more sort of aggressive towards the lions. If they do go there, they are spreading out through the bush a little bit now. As they often do when they're feeding, these herds can be spread up over a couple of 100 meters. Oh, just don't get a fright for him, but there's a elephant bull walking up behind you. He's quite chilled, so don't worry. Getting a photo of him with an elephant right behind him. There we go. Guys, don't forget to take screenshots. I mean, these guys are really, really cute. I'm wondering if they're going to get a wind of those lions. I'm just going to try to sneak around the corner. Wait for Liam's friend to join us. There he is. Probably about 7 foot from us at the moment. Yes, little man. Get ready, Vim. There could be some action. Or will the lions slink off before the elephants arrive? Or the elephants completely ignore the lions? So literally there's probably about 20 meters from this elephant in front of us and where the Nkuhuma pride are lying. Or were lying about 10 minutes ago. So we're right in amongst it now. The lions might keep their heads down. Let's see, with that, like that little baby up in front of us there, could make these females particularly more aggressive towards lions than they would be normally. There we go, I think she smelt them. And the lions, I thought I saw something moving there. Okay guys, the lions are on the move. The elephants are going to chase them now. So I'm just going to try and get into a safe position where we don't upset the elephants, but also I can just see lion bums disappearing through the bush. So this is actually quite a dangerous situation, so I'm not going to get involved. As you see, the rest of the herd come storming in here, and the Nkuhumas disappear. We want to sit on the edge. We don't want to be involved, because when elephants are heightened like this, they could accidentally take us as a threat, and that would not be good. So we're just going to stay a little bit further away from the action. I've seen which directions the lions have gone. As I said, there was a strong possibility that they were going to chase them. I don't want to move the vehicle. The elephants, I've purposely put this nice big thorn bush here between us and the majority of the breeding herd with the babies. It just creates a bit of distance and space, a sort of natural barrier between us and the elephants in case they did become very worked up. So the lions were literally lying in the same place where we left them this morning. This elephant's actually probably going to go walk right through there and sniff where the lions were, this young bull. There we go, watch him here. He's going to sniff exactly where the lions. Watch his trunk near the ground. He's sniffing where the lions were. The Nkuhuma's made a quick disappearing act. The herd is continuing to move in their general direction, and it's safe now. They seem to have calmed down a little bit more. I'm going to move out and around and see if we can catch up with the Nkuhumas. It's a pity it didn't happen in a little bit more open an area, but you've got to be very, very careful in those situations not to put your vehicle in the wrong position, because that's where things can go wrong very quickly. So utilizing things like a natural boundary like this big thick acacia helps keep the VM and myself out of harm's way, and still puts us in a position where we can possibly see the animal behavior that's going on. Unfortunately, not the best from a camera point of view. You guys couldn't see it, and all I could see was a couple of lion bums disappearing in a southeasterly direction. And the rest of the herd's now relaxed a little bit. They're still going to be slightly on edge because there was a predator like a lion around, but they are moving away from where they chased the lions. But it is going to give me a bit of a job. I'm going to have to try to track those lions again. But you can see the general demeanor of the herd has calmed down now. Their ears aren't erect. They're not standing tall like they were. But you can still see they're not as 100% as relaxed as they were in the beginning. So the females in this type of circumstances are generally far more aggressive than the males. And that's a question from Patty on Twitter. And most definitely they've got like that very cute little guy disappearing over there. They've got to look after the welfare of the baby elephants, where there's quite often the elephant bulls will be out on their own, and a pride of lions don't really pose a threat to a bull, even a bull sort of about 20 years old and above. So they're not too stressed about lions, but a young elephant calf that wanders a little bit far from the herd or whatnot would be a definite target for a pride of lions. So they are far more aggressive and far more, what's the correct word? Well, when they chase lions, they make sure they chase them properly. Whereas an elephant bull will quite often shake their head at them and walk past, I've seen. Sometimes they do chase them quite heavily, but that just depends on the moment. You can see they are keeping a lot of the youngsters quite close. So we'll stick with these ellies while they're walking down the road, and then we will try to get into the drainage line. It is quite a thick drainage line, and try find the Nkahumas again. If I remember correctly, there's a little sneaky spot to climb into the drainage line around the corner. But I can hear a great go-away bird. Sounded like a great go-away bird alarming. So I'm pretty sure I've got a good idea where the lions have been left, or where they might have stopped. Whether they stopped there permanently is a different question completely. One we'll hope to answer quite shortly. And while give these ellies a chance to move around the corner, we're going to cross across to Scott, from a very big animal to a very small one.
Welcome back, everyone. And from one of the giants of the African wilderness to one of the smallest antelope we get in this area, she is a little steenbuck, and she's just finished going to the bathroom. And we didn't want to embarrass her, but we did really want to show her to you, and because she was stopped for a toilet break, she seemed quite relaxed with us, and is allowing this wonderful close view of her. Now, interestingly, with steenbuck, they have their own little territories, and they will compete fiercely for their own little patch of turf. And that little toilet spot, we're just going to have a very quick look at. And that way be able to tell you a little bit more about it, because it's kind of like at the hyena den site this morning, how they use urination to help send messages and leave notes for other hyena about what's going on. This little steenbuck is no different, and they'll use very often pre-assigned spots in which to do their business. But I can't see any further sign of where she was doing it. Bryan, have I gone crazy? Let me just jump out quickly. I'll just be a moment or two, and then I will get you back to those elephants. Well, that possibly was not the case now, and I can't see any further sign of what she did. She was actually covering it up with her hooves, so maybe I was completely wrong about that. Anyway, we're going to send you back to the elephants, and we'll see you a little bit later. Welcome back, everyone. We have found where the elephants have, watch the aerial there, have chased the king kahumas, and they've run through the donga, and they are now lying up here, but it looks like they're about to get mobile. I'm going to be quite busy on the Game Drive channel. There's a whole bunch of people who want to come here right now, and I'm going to have to explain to them how to get here. So just bear with me for a few seconds. Said. Cedric Caution. Relocated, I think it's called Magically Open on the power lines. They are mobile, sort of in a south-easterly direction at the moment. Copy said, yeah, you're breaking up quite badly. I'll stay with them till you guys arrive, and then I'll move out and take first standby. Copy. So guys, the Arethusa guys are just getting moving, and all three of them are going to come here. So we're going to stay with the lions while we can. And we're going to let them get a chance to view them, and then we're going to move straight back in once they're finished. And it shouldn't be too long. So in the meantime, before they arrive, we're going to try stay with the lions while they're on the move. Okay, looks like we're going to lie out in this nice open area. So I'm just going to be on the radio for another few seconds. There's quite a lot of noise in my ear, and as soon as someone else arrives here, I'll let them take over. Yeah, isn't that quite a sight? Look at her sniffing the air. Look at her, she's just testing the wind, possibly smelling an impala or wildebeest or zebra or buffalo, who knows. Just getting sort of an afternoon update from the wind. Yeah, I said, sorry, I was a bit off on my directions there. I think I'm quite a lot further to the north of that open area. There's a large sodic site on the southern side, or erosion sodic site on the southern side of Safari Donga, probably to the south and east of where they were left lying up, very close to the power lines. Copy. Okay, so it looks like they might keep moving again. She's definitely maybe smelt something up ahead. As you can see, they are quite hungry. They haven't eaten yet. The rest of the pride are lying out all around us, quite spread out.
like that she's definitely smelt something. The others don't seem as interested. But just on that amazing behavior we just witnessed, Gail in Rhode Island was wondering, do the elephants ever put all the babies in the middle, or do they generally rush forward on like we just had them do? Quite often they will rush forward on, and the babies will pick up from the adults and rush with them. I've never seen elephants consciously sort of corral babies, but they do stand right next to their moms. But buffalo, on the other hand, I've seen corral the babies and females into the middle with that formidable wall of buffalo bulls on the edge. So I've never seen it with elephants. Generally, when they are chasing lions and whatnot, they sort of come forward in this mass wave. Oh, right next to us on the right here, yeah. Hello, madam. So it looks like the girls are on the move now. So there might be some chance at some hunting action. Kathy from Memphis. Welcome on, so far, a very exciting sunset safari with the Nkahuma Pride and a pride of lions. They're coming past right next to Vim, giving him the evil eye. And Kathy would like to know, would a pride of lions take the opportunity to try grab a baby elephant given the chance? Most definitely. They are opportunists. They would take any opportunity like that to even grab an animal as big as an elephant. So really, really possible. I have seen lions attempt to kill baby elephant in Botswana before. I've never seen it in the Sabi Sands, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen from time to time. So guys, this is my fourth safari in a row with Nkahuma Pride, and we know of for sure sort of five attempted hunts. There could have been others. So the rule of law, or the rule of odds, say lions kill sort of 1.5 times out of 10. So we sort of, by virtue of odds, getting to a chance now where we might possibly be around for some action. They haven't eaten in at least three nights now, so they are getting quite hungry, and hopefully with these elephants pushing them early, it might get them, and it has got them on the move and on the hunt a little bit earlier. So really, really fascinating stuff. And isn't this incredible? We've been able to spend nearly 4 full safaris, so nearly 12 hours with these lions in the last couple of days, and that is incredible. And that's one of the great things, that we are following them through and keeping up with the whole sort of story. So I'm just going to move around quickly. All right, jump up ahead of them. Going into a particularly thick little area. We'll see if we can squirm our way around this thicket. Guys, I'm just going to ask you to cross back to Scott very, very quickly while I have to deal with this really, really thick bush here. So, sorry, bear with me. I'm just going to have to go through here, and I'll be back with you in as soon as possible. As you can see, that's sort of this impenetrable wall, and I'll be back with you now.
Welcome back, and we're on our northern boundary, a long straight road called Buffalo's Hook Cut Line, and to the right we don't go, to the left we do go, and this is the possible area where we could find some tracks of 2 male cheetah that have been moving into this area apparently. Now there's another predator that I've just seen that's also moving through this area. The tracks aren't very easy to see, and they're probably from early last night, but if we look over my right shoulder, you'll see a few tracks in the sand over here, and those are the paw prints of what look like a female leopard. Just judging from the size, they're not very fresh and crisp and clear, but it has been a very windy day, and this is a busy road. Now there's no saying how far that leopard has moved down this road. It could have made a kill just around the corner. So even though the tracks are not fresh, it's still useful for us to be able to know that there was a leopard heading in the same direction as us. So it doesn't even matter if we don't find the cheetah tracks. It would obviously be a very pleasant surprise. Now some of you may be wondering, what is the difference between a cheetah track and a leopard track? The cheetah's track has got a very angular back pad, and basically there will also be claws seen on the toe marks of a cheetah's tracks, whereas the leopard's claws are only protracted when it jumps onto its prey. The cheetahs are always protruding, and that's because they're very different animals in terms of their hunting. And the cheetah doesn't actually need to latch onto its prey like a leopard does. It often just trips up the prey, and it needs those claws. And those claws need to be out permanently for it to travel at such high speeds. The fastest mammal on the planet. Oh. Just want to check. It looks like the leopard may have headed off down towards the waterhole here, although I think I may have seen some tracks continuing. Let's just have a look here and make sure. The same waterhole where we were originally stopped, where we started the afternoon, and the tracks that I've just seen now are actually hyena tracks. So the leopard does continue down this road. Well, we've got a few requests through from a number of you, Susan and Christine, and a few others, wanting to hear about the incredible sighting that we had at the hyena den site this morning. And it was incredible interaction between various members of the clan, ranging from the smallest new addition, a tiny young cub, probably only 2 or 3 weeks old, up to the slightly older cubs, which are probably anywhere from kind of 8 to 10 months of age. We're not entirely sure. And then a variety of adults and sub-adults. And there was a lot of playing around and quite aggressive play fighting between some of the members of the clan. And then at one stage, the young cub that we had only seen a few glimpses of, it had actually come out of its burrow to acknowledge greetings from other clan members. So we had a few glimpses of it. We heard it kind of letting off quite a high-pitched squeal. And within seconds, its mother had returned. So we're not sure whether the cub had heard its mother returning, or somehow the mother was just nearby when it called. But within seconds, the mother was there in the burrow. And then one of the other adult females, who I think is ranked higher up in the clan than the female with the new cub, came in to investigate the little cub, and then the mother of the cub kind of attacked the other mother that was coming to say hello, and there was all kinds of pandemonium breaking out. Then another 2 hyena came and chased the same mother of the new cub. So there was a lot of very interesting hierarchical behavior and dominance displays, and that's kind of understandable because it is a complex hierarchy, that of a hyena clan, with all the females ranking higher than the males. And within those female ranks, there will be times where some may try and compete with others or become jealous with others, and I think we were lucky enough to be in the right place today to experience a bit of this dominance behavior and strength behavior between the hyenas. So some really awesome stuff, but we can only read so deeply into it. We would need to spend day in and day out with that clan and build a database of information in order to be able to conclusively kind of decide what happened today. The amount of time that we get to see them interacting is not quite enough for us to be able to make conclusive decisions as to why exactly it happened and what exactly went on, but we certainly were lucky to see the action that unfolded. We may head there a little bit later, so who knows, maybe that behavior will continue this afternoon. I do know somebody is heading there initially, and they'll let us know if it's active or not. By the time we left, all the hyena had left before us. The leopard tracks are still going down this road, so it hasn't veered off or made a kill yet. But like I said, even though the tracks aren't very crisp and fresh, the leopard may not be too far from here. If it did make a kill of a decent size, let's say an impala, it could feed on it for 3 days. So that gives you an idea of why it's important to continue following up on tracks, even if they're not extremely fresh. Just peering over there, there's some tracks of a herd of buffalo, but they don't look fresh enough to follow up on. Just after I've been saying it's still used following up on older tracks. Not in the case of a large herd of buffalo. They move big distances and will already be a long way off from now. Now, Gilly in Wisconsin would like to know if we see any dik-dik in South Africa. It's a very small antelope, and sadly we don't get them here. There's a number of different dik-diks, the Kirk's dik-dik, Gunther's dik-dik, and a few more, but they occur mainly up in East Africa and other parts of Africa, but the only place I've seen them is in Kenya and Tanzania. They're an incredibly cute antelope, and they've got quite a long nose that they can actually move around from side to side, and they need that long nose to help them thermoregulate in the very hot and dry and arid climates that they live in. So they've got a very peculiar nose, and they're probably about half the size of the steenbok and the duiker that we see here, but it will depend on the exact type of dik-dik you're looking at. Maybe not half, maybe half to 3/4 the size of a steenbok or a dik-dik. But we'll have to go on safari in Kenya to show you those, and hopefully that'll happen one day, but we don't get them in South Africa. Well, the reason why I stopped here is because I saw another set of leopard tracks that looked to be those of a male going in the opposite direction to us and then veering off this road. So in the wrong direction for us, but again, useful to know that there's a male moving here, possibly a mvula, a dominant male who does move through this area. The female, I'm not sure who it could have been, possibly Karula or the Nkanyeni female, which we have yet to see, I don't think, any of us, but she does spend time in this area from what I'm told. speaking of male leopards, we've got a question through from Football Expert. And good to know that the Football Expert is watching the safari and is soon going to be Safari Expert. He would like to know whether male leopards will kill their own cubs, and no, they won't. It's very unlikely that they would do that, but what they may do is kill the cubs of other male leopards. So if they come across a female who's still raising her cubs and therefore unavailable for mating, and she's raising cubs that are not his own, he will kill those cubs in order to release the female of her responsibility to raise them, and that way he can get his bloodline into the ecosystem. And it's an important thing that does happen to ensure that only the strongest and fittest genes get through. But it does mean, though, that in certain areas where there may be a lot of movement between male leopards and shifts and dynamics, you may find that females are very unlucky and may lose litter after litter after litter simply because the males have not been able to strongly establish a territory of their own. And that is normal for nature to have these cycles where there will be shifts in territories, and we're actually experiencing a shift in territory at the moment where there's basically two main leopards that we have been seeing, Tingana on Arethusa and Mvula on Djuma. Now they do stretch onto other properties surrounding us, but those are the two that we have seen. Up until recently, the Anderson male has now started pushing Tingana towards Mvula and putting pressure on the situation, pushing Mvula further away. So there is some shifts already happening, and it'll be interesting to see what plays out over the coming months, and if we're lucky enough to see some action that unfolds between these males. Well, rather than speculating about what we can see and might see, why don't you head across to Brent, who has actually found something that you can take a look at right now.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, we've caught up with this breeding herd of elephant again. We're right on the peripheries with these young bulls. So the lions went to sleep again, and I just decided we'll let the other cars go there while they're sleeping. We'll go spend some time with the Ellies, and then as soon as we get a chance, we definitely will make our way back towards the Nkuhumas. I'm very confident we'll start moving again, and hopefully quite early today, like they did last night, and hopefully have a successful hunt, finally. So I can hear Ellies all around. The majority of the breeding herd seem to be further off to the west of us. We'll go have a look now. We're just right on the edge with these two nice young bulls. One of the ones who was directly behind Wiem while we were with the herd earlier. So we just witnessed the elephant see off lions, and Carol in Illinois would like to know, in a breeding herd like this, if the lions attacked an Ellie, would the other elephants help defend it? Most definitely, Carol, they would, and quite aggressively as well. The whole herd would probably try to defend it. And the way the lions, I've seen lions hunt baby elephant out of breeding herds before, is to sort of, some of the lions will try to distract the adults, get the adults to try chase them while they try sort of cordon off a youngster. I'm just going to try and move parallel to this guy while he's moving that fallen buffalo thorn. So even though he's moving the tree quite extensively, what he's doing is what we saw quite a lot a couple of days ago on one of the sunset safaris, because we spent a long time with a nice big herd of elephant. It's a fallen down knob thorn, not a buffalo thorn. And we saw them moving lots of fallen down knob thorns that they have pushed down at another stage to try get to to the grass underneath. So there's obviously still some decent grazing grass that's managed to be protected from a lot of the other grazers by these fallen down trees. And now, with an elephant being as strong as it is, it's able to move these fallen down trees to get to that good quality grazing grass which is still underneath. You can see going between the branches to get at the grass. So this is one way elephants are able to utilize a resource that is possibly not completely available to things like impala and wildebeest and zebra, by being able to move what they've pushed down to get to that good quality grass that's remained growing and probably still has quite a bit of nutrients and moisture in it, from being protected by that thorny sort of cage. Well, if we have a look at an animal like an elephant's quite an important one in the sort of greater structure of the ecosystem. And if we played a game, a terrible game, or not a terrible game, and a very interesting game, what if we were to remove elephants from this ecosystem? What would happen? Now, elephants are very, very important. They're also the landscapers of the bush. So if we had to remove elephants from this ecosystem, what do you guys think will happen, and how will it affect animals like zebra and impala and wildebeest? How do you think the removal of elephants would affect those animals? And you can send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So if we come out VM, you can just show everyone how close he is to us at the moment. He's probably my body length, about 6 foot from the side of the vehicle. And he's giving VM a good squiz. So I'd guess this Eddie Bull's probably early 20s. And completely not perturbed with us. You look at his behavior. Happy to continue on feeding. Taking very little notice of us. Feeding off an acacia now. Not a knob thorn, but it looks like a red thorn. And you can see it's got incredibly large, sharp thorns, but that Ellie's skin is so thick, it has almost no effect on him. And he pops those big thorns right into his mouth, and zoop, gone. So we're going to leave this young guy on the periphery. The rest of the herd has headed sort of in a more easterly direction. And there is a road that loops around, so I'm going to try pop around. So we can try and see if we can see some of those wonderful little guys. Standing by. Copy that. So if there's anyone else who'd like to go ahead, relocated on that Cumberland Law, they are slowly mobile east now on I think it is, I forgot the name of that, sorry, but Zebra Drive junction with Oh my goodness. The road after parallel. So there we go. Just try and get into here quickly. How's that, fam?
That's good.
So now that bush that this elephant cow is eating with her calf there is quite important in that sort of question I just asked you. What would happen if we removed elephants from the ecosystem? And that little bush that they're eating at the moment is very, very important in that answer. We've got another question from Carol in Illinois. Carol's wondering about baby elephant feeding habits and wondering whether do they only eat or only drink mother's milk, or do they also eat grass as well? Carol, when they're very young, they will drink exclusively mother's milk, but as they get older and they learn to use their trunk, they will sort of eat a lot of sort of grass and leaves and that, but not really. They'll drop a lot of it and will still be mostly dependent on their mother's milk for the first year of their life, almost entirely dependent on their mother's milk, even though they might eat some vegetable matter. Sean, if there's anyone who would like to go ahead of me, they're more than welcome, with that large number of law on Eli Alley Junction with Zebra Drive. As you can see, a perfect example of that. That young guy still hasn't quite mastered the use of the trunk. It's got something there and chewing on it, but probably getting very little from it. Oh, and as always, the fork-tailed drongo present, taking advantage of any insect disturbed by the eddies. Isn't that incredible how she used her foot there to break that branch? Now if we just watch how she just turns that in her mouth, removing the bark and the cambium layer. The cambium layer is the most nutritious part of the tree, and that's what transports the nutrients from the roots of the tree or bush through to the rest of the plant. You can hear the drongos as they hawk around, catching all the insects that the ellies disturb while they're feeding. And then we can actually see how she's removed the bark there. And see she's left the center pith, or the center of the branch, and she's completely left that and taken off that nutrient-rich layer beneath the bark. There's a nice young bull behind her. see, we have a look at this little guy in front of us. Eating round leaf. Come off to the left here, please. Here in the middle of this little one closest to us here. You can see how it's eating round leaf teak, and you notice all the teak around there is almost all the same size and the same age. I've actually got a friend who calls that round leaf teaks elephant popsicles, because they really do love it. And it can be really in really big trees outside of an area where there's elephants, and that's another hint to the question I asked you guys a little bit earlier. What would happen if we removed elephants from the system? And how would it affect animals like zebra and giraffe and zebra and giraffe and here we go. You can see round leaf teak, better known as elephant popsicles. They really do love them, and they keep these round leaf teak thickets in this. Hello, old daddy. Where are you going? After that. So she's very close, as you can see. There's my hand. Feeding off these little bushes that are all around. And when they move past, we'll have a closer look at those little bushes.
A funny ear.
Yeah, very funny ear. You can actually see the hair on the ear. People often wonder where an elephant's ear hole is. Is it on the inside? But it's actually on the outside. This is a great opportunity to have a good look. And obviously the hair is there to stop things getting in. And here we go. You can see right into her ear. So obviously when she puts her ears forward, that acts as a big satellite dish that it catches all the sound around. Imagine it's sort of like a big radar dish. Oh. We're going to just move around, and then we're going to have a quick discussion about that question we asked a little earlier. Jason. As these elephants disappear into these thickets, stop with them now. So we asked the question, what if, in a terrible circumstance, that if elephants were removed from the ecosystem. There have been a lot of correct answers, and well done. The bush would start reverting, become a lot more closed, and would start reverting back to sort of more woodland. And I mean, in areas where you don't have elephants, round-leaf teak actually becomes a really big tree, massive trunk. Your grass, a lot of your grass species will die away. And we've got this little bush just to the left of us here, and it's called a sickle bush, or Dicrostachys. And that would, in some places, literally becomes an impenetrable wall. And in terms of detrimental effect towards your species like wildebeest and impala and zebra, it actually removes the majority of what they're feeding off. And this is obviously not good, and it actually affects biodiversity. Elephants, like human beings, are architects of their environment, so they will continuously change their environment. One of the few species in the world that is able to do that, and that's what makes them such an important cog in the ecosystem. So if you removed, and even if the removal of elephants might even affect things like buffalo and inyala and kudu, because these walls of same species plants are obviously not very nutritious, and especially when plants like this sickle bush next to us get big, they actually become quite unpalatable. And the elephants keep them young and tasty by breaking them and continuously feeding on them. So they're really major part of the ecosystem. And you can definitely see in areas where elephants have been removed, and you get this wall of one type of tree, literally impenetrable. I've seen animals not actually able to run through it, I mean, like this, and underneath it's completely barren. Maybe the odd sort of little creeper or scrub, but almost zero grass. So the removal of elephants from an ecosystem could be a very big problem in the long term. And in a lot of these reserves where they have been removed and now reintroduced, it has taken time, and some of it's nearly 20 years, and the bush is still much thicker than it would have been traditionally. So we're very blessed in the fact that we are in an open system where the Kruger and the elephants come and go, and we have a really healthy elephant population. So very lucky, keeps the areas nice and open, nice grassland like this for the other animals to feed on. And having those open grasslands and the prey species and the herbivores there attracts lions and leopards. So it's a win-win, and everything sort of fits in. We're going to leave these elephants to, move along and try head back towards those Nkuhumas. It is getting a bit cooler. Fingers crossed they might be on the move. And what a wonderful herd this is, very relaxed. They are moving off into some thickets here now. And I don't want to go bashing and crashing in thickets after elephants, especially a herd that's got young babies and has just had an encounter with a predator. So let's err on the side of caution, and let's go see what those lions are up to. We got a comment from Ginny who says, well, without elephants, the poor drongos wouldn't be able to catch all the insects being disturbed. Well, Ginny, the thing about a drongo is it is so adaptable that I think they'd find something else to take advantage of while following up on insects. But in the meantime, we're going to cross to a reptilian with Scotty, and while we make our way back towards the Nkuhuma Pride, and we will see you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone. And we heard that Brent was discussing how important elephants are in the ecosystem, and I thought we could show you a tree that we can thank the elephants for killing. Well, we don't want them to kill all the trees, but this specific one is a little bit different. You'll see it's dead. All of the bark has been removed from the woody inner of the tree trunk, and once that cambium layer of bark is removed from a tree, the transport system from the roots to the leaves is cut off, and therefore the tree will die. And this dead tree will then become a home and a microhabitat for other animals that live in small cavities that are easy to bore into while the tree is dead. And it also makes for an easy perch for lots of birds of prey to land on. It's a very important structure for a lot of animals, and it's not just keeping the vegetation low, but it's also creating these very special homes for animals. Now, if we take a closer look into one of the cavities in this tree, you'll notice that we've got a large reptile hiding in there. You can just see the head of a rock monitor lizard. It's probably around 45 centimeters to half a meter long, possibly even longer than that. And he's been hanging out here for quite some time. Almost every time we drive past we see him in here. And he won't be highly active in the winter months. He'll be far more active in summer when it's hotter and when also there's a lot more food around for him. But isn't it interesting how the elephants can be thanked by these small animals for creating this potential home for them? In a living tree, it's far harder for them to dig in and excavate these cavities. Wonderful. Hopefully in the summer months, as it warms up, we'll see him poking his head out of this hole further and further until one day we might actually get to see him entirely out of the hole. Interestingly, that very same hole in the summer months was home to a pair of woodlands kingfishers who migrate from the central and northern parts of Africa for our summer months. And we actually were sitting here waiting to see what the adults would bring back for the chicks to feed on. And we saw one of the adults bring a tiny little snake that it had caught that one of the chicks got to gobble up. So that hole already in the few months that we've been here is already telling quite a few stories. So it goes to show just how important they are. Bryan asked me earlier why I'd driven all the roads with no animals on, and it's a good question. So far we haven't had too much luck, until we bumped into that monitor lizard, I guess. But that could change at any stage, and I think we overdue a leopard sighting, even though we have seen him quite regularly. Or possibly some interesting birds along the way. But the only way to find out is to stay tuned and see what we find around the next few corners that we meander through. We are kind of in the central parts of Djuma, heading south, and I don't have too many reports to go on of tracks from this morning. So I'm driving around a little bit blind at the moment with not too many plans on the go. But you can't always have fresh tracks and be following up on animals. And equally, sometimes you don't even need to follow the tracks. There could be a leopard walking up this road towards us that we would require no skill in finding. It's just about being out here and spending time in the bush, and eventually we will get lucky. I guess for Bryan and myself this morning, we were overwhelmed with luck at the hyena den and had a magical sighting there. If you weren't tuned into the show, it's worth having a look at the highlights reel, because we got some great interaction of the hyena clan trying to establish dominance and reaffirm hierarchy, and we weren't sure exactly what caused it this morning because we've never seen intensity like that at the hyena den, but there certainly was some great action to be seen. On a cool day like this, it wouldn't surprise me for predators to move during the course of the day, so we may find some fresh tracks as we drive around. that were not detected this morning, so that is something that is worth mentioning. Well, we had a request, it was a few days ago, and I can't remember exactly who it was from, but somebody requested that we do a riverbed cruise, so I hope you are watching today, because due to our lack of better plans, I think a little cruise down the Milwaukee riverbed would be the perfect way to show you a bit more of the scenery, vegetation that we get here, and possibly some animals that we could find lurking through it. Because we are in a very low-lying area, we may have some signal issues. So apologies if the screen gets a little bit shaky, but I think it's worth the risk. This is one of my favorite settings to see a leopard in. Just about any animal, there's something about these sandy riverbeds that really appeals to me. We've never found a leopard, but there's a far smaller carnivore just in the road up ahead of us. Sorry, Bryan and I were on a different wavelength there. Bryan was about to take you and show you the beautiful leadwood trees, which we will do once these dwarf mongooses scurry off to shelter. They do seem quite relaxed though, and may not be scurrying off anywhere at any time soon. Well, one last mongoose. Oh no, he's got reinforcements. Another one's just come to join it. It's interesting that it's just sitting there out in the open. There's no sun that it's basking in, so I wonder why it's decided to relax there. But then again, there's a lot we cannot explain about what these little animals do out here and what a lot of the animals do out here. As much as we like to think we can, some things we... Oh, look at that! What have you seen? Now you're showing off. He obviously heard us talking about him and thought, well, let me put on a bit of a show here. And he's obviously just wanting to search deeper into the thick bush that they may be heading into for any potential threats before charging in there. They're all looking in that direction, kind of wanting to go there, but none of them are willing to commit. They are getting reinforcements. I've seen about 6 or 7, but there's probably at least double or possibly triple that amount within the colony. There's a go-away bird now that's just started crying out. And also an Inyala in the background that we've just seen that's poking its head out behind a buffalo thorn. So let's carry on a bit. He looks like a beautiful big bull. And maybe we'll also be able to get some closer views of these dwarf mongooses. They usually run off, but sometimes you get lucky. Very close, and I'm surprised that this one has sat so calmly in front of us. Aren't they cute little creatures? But we're also in a great position now to also show you the Inyala that are slowly coming out into shot. And that's perfect timing because the dwarf mongoose has decided to evacuate the scene. And in its place is a far larger but equally dark and brown coloration Inyala. Now, at this time of the year, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw these two Inyala bulls doing their slow ritualistic performance to establish dominance over other Inyala, because it is mating season for a lot of the herbivores. So it'll be interesting to see if these two males don't provide us with a really interesting behavior and ritual of how they establish dominance. They do a very slow prancing walk where they erect all the hair on their mane, making themselves look as big and bold as possible. But these two look quite content at the moment, but that could change at any moment. Beautiful. Let's carry on a little bit and try and see if we can see them in the sunlight that looks like they've moved into. Oh, we're in luck. There's a third one. And it's that one, the third one in the middle, that is currently posturing in this exact pose that I was hoping to see. Bryan, if you don't mind just going tight onto that one in the middle. Now, as the other two get closer, we may be able to watch him start moving, and the other two may also get involved. But until they do, we'll keep a closer eye on him. Look at this. Now, I'm sure he's going to slowly start moving, often in kind of like a circular motion. But he is showing these two how big and bold he looks. And they too might get involved and equally try and show him what they have to offer. Don't stop. Now, as I said earlier, it is coming the mating season, so they'll be trying to establish dominance over other males so that they can be in pole position for mating. It has calmed down now, but you'd probably find if there were some females nearby, which who knows there could be, that they're all following, we would expect an increased intensity in this funny phenomenon called philo-erection. And if that doesn't work, which it may not always do, they will clash horns and have a full-blown fight. But quite often in the animal kingdom, a lot of animals will try as much as possible to visually compete with one another before committing to contact. We've just got a question through, and it's from Kathy in Tennessee. She's just got a little bit confused, and she thought it was the Inyala that had the white targets on its rump. It's a big circle as if the animal sat on a wet toilet seat. And no, that's not the Inyala, it is the waterbuck. And I guess one way you could help remember that is you could remember waterbuck, water closet, toilet seat, target on the bottom. Now, he's taking some time to adorn his horns and make sure there's no parasites boring into them, and also giving them a little bit of a sheen to impress the ladies. All the while nibbling away on the same bush that he's using to brush up his horns. Well, just to give you guys an update on Brent, he is currently on standby to join the lion sighting, so it's not that he doesn't want to be there, there's just a queue at the moment, and that is not uncommon when on safari to allow other vehicles their turn to view animals, and you all slip into a standby rotation. So he is standing by for the lions, but while he waited, he, instead of parking under a tree and reading a book, he headed off in search for Shadow and Sindile. Their cubs were around the safari airstrip, or Arathusa airstrip this morning, but nobody's had any luck in tracking them down. Brent did do a loop around the area to hopefully find any further sign and was unsuccessful, but at least we've got a good idea of where they are, and they could pop out at any stage. It's good to just keep close tabs on the leopards, even if you're not necessarily finding them. At least if you know vaguely where they are, you can start the search again the following day. Great, well I think we can continue. And really happy that we got a glimpse of the philo erection displayed by that one Nyala. It's just started breaking through the clouds, and I really love this time of the year. There's so many different colors and contrasts, and it's also a lot more open than the summer, so you can see a lot further into the bush. Certainly my favorite time of the year out here, the winter months. Could have wanted to go on all-day game drives very comfortably, whereas the summer months you would be melting away in the heat of the day. It certainly is worth mentioning though that there are certainly positives to being out here in summer. All of the migratory birds, a lot of the insects and bugs out, a lot of the reptiles are more active. So don't get me wrong, there certainly are great things going on here in the summer months. I find the winter more comfortable. As much as I love this riverbed, we are going to veer out of it and head down Mama Road. Well, Yvonne's just sent through great comments describing the Inyala's dance moves, and she says it's more of a ballroom style dancing where it's more the striking poses that they cast as opposed to the fancy moves. And I couldn't agree more with you, Yvonne. A great way to describe the Inyala and that strange dominance display that they perform. Thanks for sharing that with us. And isn't it wonderful how you can not only ask questions but also just share comments like that and your feelings and what animals you enjoy with us. And that way we can slowly get to fine-tune the safari to your specific needs. Understandably, there are many of you watching, so that makes it a bit tricky to cater for everyone's exact needs, but we can do little tidbits for everyone, that's for certain. Well, we're gonna continue east along Mamba Road. I've got happy memories of seeing Tingana here, a beautiful big male leopard. But we don't need to be talking about big old male leopards that we saw here days ago, because Brent has got into position with some other big cats that he can share with you right now. We'll see you all a little bit later.
So, welcome back, everyone. We've managed to find the Nkahuma Pride after quite a struggle. So while we were with those elephants, the other game drives finished viewing them and left. And they probably moved about 250 meters in really, really thick bush. And they've gone relatively flat cat again. I mean, if you have a look at this bush we've managed to get our way through here, it is nearly an impenetrable wall around this little clearing where the lions are sitting or sleeping. And the fact that this female here is actively grooming and scratching, I'm hoping she might wake up the rest. Hello, big girl. So, lions used to have a far wider distribution than they do now, and in places you probably wouldn't really expect. Oh, there we go. Giving her paws a good clean. I mean, they were only exterminated from Greece in AD 100. And they managed to survive in Palestine till the 12th century. And obviously there is still that small population of Asiatic lions living in the Gir province of India. And they have disappeared from areas of Africa that they were once quite widespread and quite a long time ago. And they've been said to have disappeared from about 1891 in Tunisia and Algeria, and as late as 1920, in the 1920s, from Morocco. The first, oh, there we go. Come on, wake them up, do some stretching. So the first lion that was described, or the first specimen that the lion was described from, was from North Africa. It was described by Linnaeus, who is the sort of the father of the naming system of of species and all that, and it was, to be precise, from Constantine in Algeria. So that was the first sort of typical lion specimen that was recorded and put into the sort of the linear system, that the linear system that breaks up species, genus, family, etc., etc., etc. And in southern Africa, they were completely removed from sort of the Western Cape and that sort of area in South Africa from around 1700s. They were, sorry, not 1700s, I lie. 1860s, sorry. They were pretty much exterminated from the Western Cape by the 1860s. Obviously now, really incredible that with private reserves, there are lions back in that area. They've been introduced into Karoo National Park and some of the private reserves in the Eastern Cape. So really, really great that they are actually living in some of the areas that they have been permanently or were permanently eradicated from. But in saying that, lions are incredible nomads, especially young males, and they can often turn up randomly in areas where there haven't been lions seen for 100 years and disappear again just as quickly. We're going to try reposition quickly, see if we can get a nice view of them. You can see Junior barely batted an eyelid at that. We're going to try find a little gap to get through to the opposite them so we can have a good view at the whole pride. How are we doing behind you there, Liam? Good. Guys, sorry to make you lift your heads. You can go back to as you were now. So, there are 8 lions in the Nkahuma Pride. Carla is a new viewer from Nova Scotia. A very warm welcome to Safari Live, Carla. Thanks very much for sending through a question, and I'm sure all our regulars will make you feel welcome, and hopefully you'll send some more questions in the future. Now, Carla was asking how many lions are in the Nkahuma Pride, and how many different prides do we see? Well, Carla, this is the Nkahuma Pride, which is probably the pride of lions we see the most of, and there are 8 individuals in this pride at the moment. 5 adult lionesses, 2 sub-adult females, and 1 young male who is named Junior, and that is him there having a good snooze. The other prides we see, the pride we see the next most regularly is the Styx Pride, or the Styx Breakaway Pride, and they have just changed quite recently. They were only, so the largest Styx Pride is a bigger pride that occurs generally further to the south of us. And then 2 lionesses broke away, and they started getting called the Styx Breakaway Pride, but they seem to have joined up again with 2 other lionesses from the original Styx Pride. So at the moment, the last time I saw them, there were 4 adult females in that pride, and 3 little cubs that are about nearly 3 months old now, So that's the Styx pride. And then very occasionally we see a pride called the Tsalala breakaway pride or the Mangen pride. And that's a pride of 14, and they've just had new cubs, so probably about 16 lions now. But we only see them very, very seldom on Arethusa. Their territory generally lies more to the sort of south and west of us. And those are the female prides we see. The male lions we see, the main male lions we see is a male coalition of 2 male lions called the Matimba males. And they are dominant over the Nkahuma pride as well as the Styx pride, or the Styx breakaway pride, as well as there are a few other prides that we don't see that they do also dominate over, further to the north and east of us. And then we have seen from time to time a coalition of 5 young male lions called the Birmingham boys. And we are hoping that they're going to start spending a bit more time around, but at the moment, the majority of the time, they are to the north of us in another reserve called the Manyeleti, actually where some of us are living at the moment. And we move through between there every morning and every evening to come do the game drives here at Juma and Arethusa. But the wonderful thing, Carla, about being in a system like we are, that is open to the Kruger and to the other private reserves, is there are about 3.5 million hectares. And if I remember correctly, maths has never been my strong point, but that's probably roughly around 7 million acres of open, unfenced wilderness. That's including the transfrontier parks with Zimbabwe and with Mozambique. And the animals are free to roam through this massive area of about 3.5 million hectares, roughly, I guess, around 7 million acres. So you never know what might pop up. We might see lions we've never seen before any day. Speaking of lions and updates, just to let you guys know, the breakaway pride, who we're talking about now, managed to kill an adult male giraffe this morning. One of the rangers from the area was lucky enough to witness that from start to finish, and that happened not actually that far from here, probably only about 2 or 3 kilometers to the south of where we're sitting right now. So it's unlikely we're going to be seeing any movement from the breakaway pride for a while, as they are going to be getting their bellies full of giraffe. Just listening for a second, I think I can actually hear some more elephant off into the bush in front of us here to the south of us. But they seem quite far away. I don't think they're going to make it to here. I think the poor Nkahumas have had enough of being chased by elephants for one day. Very, very relaxed lions. The most movement we're seeing is the odd ear flick. And the reason for those ear flicks, Vim, if we can zoom in on any one of them, if we look carefully, look very carefully around the ears and on the neck, notice are there on her face these biting flies, and they are constantly biting these animals and whatnot, and that's why you see the air flicking quite often. It's to try get rid of them. And you can see if you pan across, there you go, on Junior's belly, there are flies all over it. And you can still see the remnants of cub spots, which we see quite clearly on the little Styx cubs. And so when Junior was a young, wee cub, not the big fatty that he is now, all those little cubs, those spots, those remnants there, would have helped to disguise them when the mothers left them to go out hunting. So obviously much more visible in younger lions than older lions, and as they get older they do get more faint, but even on adults you can still see the remnants of them. Well, these cats are certainly having a cat nap. Cecilia on Twitter is wondering that even though they seem to be completely passed out, would they still be able to smell or pick up prey if the prey happened to come about? And the answer to that, Cecilia, is most definitely. So they look comatose to us, but they really aren't. They are still listening. And if the prey is in the sort of upwind of them, they will possibly smell it. Depending on what prey they smell will depend on whether they decide to react. If a big breeding herd of buffalo happened to trundle past and they caught wind or heard, they'd probably hear them long before they smelt them, would definitely sort of get these guys into action. And I'm hoping that they do start moving quite shortly. They are quite hungry, but they did travel an incredibly long distance, definitely the longest distance that I've seen them travel since I've been here. But unfortunately, we're not always able to follow them. Sometimes they cross into areas where we're not able to. But this was an incredibly long area, and they zigzagged and I'd probably guess 6 or 7 kilometers easily last night, and that's not including the up and downs of hunting. So they might get, I was hoping they'd get moving a bit early. It's really nice and cool. It's a nice wind, be helpful for hunting. But they did do a really big distance last night, so they could stay flat cat for a bit longer. So referring back to the breakaway pride and their giraffe kill, Pretty Nightmare on Twitter is asking, surely we should be protecting the giraffe. She heard that there were only 88,000 left in the wild. I'm not quite sure where you got those figures from, but giraffe as a whole are quite a safe species. They're not on any of the sort of red data lists or anything like that. To give you a much scarier figure, if you've heard there 88,000, I'm not 100% sure how accurate that figure is. Maybe you guys can double check that figure for me. I think there should be a few more left in the wild, but a very scary figure to go along with that is there are probably less than, between 16 and 18,000 lions left in the whole of Africa in the wild. So a lot less lions than giraffe. And yeah, giraffe is of least concern. Lion is starting to get into a position where they are probably threatened at the moment, because they do need large open areas with sufficient genetics to keep the sort of bloodline going, and they do need large prey like giraffe and buffalo and things to eat. So probably lions are in far more trouble than giraffe at the moment. Pretty nightmare. But also we must remember that we are in a wild system. So let's take an example. If we were following these lions and they happened to come across a African wild dog, which is a very rare animal, and one of my favorite, it is my favorite animal, not one of, it is my favorite animal. And we happened to be there while the lions killed the wild dog. Now there's an endangered species. It's the second most endangered canid or dog in the world. There's probably only 4,500 left in the whole of Africa, and yet we wouldn't interfere. We would let nature take its course. So in these big open systems like that, when it's animal on animal, we will observe and watch rather than interfere. It's not our place to interfere. We're there to watch. So we have another new viewer on this drive. A really warm welcome, Martha. Great to have you on the back of the jigger with Viam and myself this sunset safari. Martha's question, does the Nkuhuma pride, or this pride we're watching at the moment, have any babies? Not currently at the moment, Martha. They have this young male who's Viam showing you his paw there, and he's probably just over 3 years old. And then they have two sub-adult lionesses who are closing in on 2. So those would be the youngest. So no babies at present. I have heard while they were away from us, one of them was seen mating with a matimba, but I'm not 100% sure. I cannot confirm that for sure. But hopefully some of them are coming into estrus shortly and will start mating. And hopefully we'll have some babies before the end of the year from the Nkuhuma pride. So while we play the patience game with the flat cats, we're going to cross off to Scotty, who is with the number 2 apex predator in the Sabi Sands, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone, and we just had to change position slightly in order to get into a good spot. The hyena have been moving around, but they are here. Take a look. And Bryan's just got to level off the camera. I parked on a bit of a funny angle there. And we were just repositioning. Initially, there was one cub at the entrance to one of the burrows, but it moved off, and you caught us just getting sighting involved in one of the clashes that we saw between the clan members. I don't think it was anything too serious in terms of them and their hierarchy, but there was a disagreement that was had, and they nipped one another a bit, but like I say, nothing too serious. But something that we haven't been able to share with you in my time here with WildEarth. There's some incredible interaction, and it was between this female that we're looking at now and the other female who's got the newest born cub, probably weeks old. So a very young cub, and the one mother was lying in the entrance to the burrow with her little cub, suckling, and then this individual, this adult that we can see here, came up to the burrow just to kind of investigate, like all the other hyena had been doing. But then the mother of the cub, for some reason, got agitated and let out. And these two started having a go at one another. And It's not something we do very often, but we are actually going to play you back a clip of the scenario that I've just explained to you. Now bear in mind that a lot did happen before this and a lot also did happen afterwards, but it's just one little clip which gives you an idea of the action we encountered this morning. So take a look, enjoy, with the tail we couldn't see, but I'm guessing it could well have been between her legs. And it is a dominance display that they will show when fighting. The victor holding their tail up high, and often the loser holding it between their legs. Now, about to play afterwards. Wow. Well, I'm sure a lot of you have probably got your hands over your mouths and are shocked at the sight you have just seen. Wasn't it just incredible? And the noises that came from them. I almost said you could have played just the audio clip without any visuals and it still would have been quite a moving thing to experience. And it all quite came at a shock to us. There had been a lot of playful banter around the den in the morning, and some of these sub-adults were, you could say, bullying these younger cubs that we can see suckling now. But that was certainly the most intense of all the interaction that was seen this morning. They shortly after all dispersed and went their own separate ways. But really, really interesting behavior. And like I say, you may have seen the adult that we can see lying down here, holding her tail up high, possibly showing her dominance over the other female, but again, that cannot be guaranteed because we couldn't see what the other female's tail was doing. What will be interesting is to see if any other clan members return to the den tonight. So much is not known about these animals that it's difficult for us to piece together all of the puzzle. And there was another 3 sub-adults also on the scene this morning. So the 2 mothers, 2 smaller cubs, the tiny cub, and 3 others. So a total of 8 hyena in all. And there could have been 1 or 2 of the clan members also missing from the scene. It's interesting also to note how much more relaxed the atmosphere is around the den on the same day, just hours later. And had we have not been here this morning, we wouldn't have known what had happened. And I think that happens quite often, that we are not here and not with the animals that we see, be it the hyena or the leopard or the lion, for the majority of the day. We're only out and drive for 6 hours, and during those 6 hours we're not ever with one animal, or very seldom for that whole 3-hour slot each side. So there's a lot that we don't see, and because we're not seeing everything, it makes it difficult for us to assume exactly the reason behind the excitement at the clan this morning, or at the den between the clan members. But there was certainly some kind of dominance being displayed, and I guess with new hyena being born into the hierarchical system, it does already start having impacts on older hyena who may not have such fortunate lineage and not be born into the alpha female hierarchy, and there may be some natural competition between them for that. So just to give you an idea, if this is your first safari where the den is, we'll just pan across to the left. And it's a very large mound of earth which was initially built by tiny little fungus-growing termites. And hard to believe that tiny little insects can build such a massive and solid structure. Well, anyway, they've moved out and other animals have moved in, and now it's the hyena using these burrows. And it's the second burrow on the right, which is kind of obstructed by a bush. That is where we see the smallest cub. The one on the left doesn't seem to be used, but could well be interconnected. And it's that hole on the right where we showed you that clip of those two females fighting a little bit earlier. That's where it all happened. Just 12 hours ago or so. Well, while we wait for these hyenas to move about and get a bit more active and see if any more come back, we're going to shoot you off to Brent for a few moments. It sounds like one of the lionesses is doing some grooming, so enjoy, and hopefully the hyena will be active when you get back.
Welcome back. Just to keep you guys updated about what we're up to. Two lionesses have started grooming, but the rest of them are unfortunately still very flat. I am hoping this is a precursor to a bit more action than what they have been for the last while. And really, really nice to see this aloe grooming. And it is generally the start, sometimes, or actually a lot of the time, of the rest of the pride getting moving. Starting with a bit of grooming, then a bit of stretching, and then defecating and urinating, and then probably a bit more grooming and stretching. And quite often with lions, they sort of practice what's called contagious behavior. So when one starts or two start, the others sort of follow suit. But we will keep you updated if it does carry on. Hi, Susan. Susan's got a very interesting question that I actually don't know the answer to. Susan's asking whether she thinks is it possible that the females are holding off on their estrus because junior is around and trying to mate. It is a possibility. I think it's unlikely, but what I will do is I will try email a lion expert and see if they have an answer for that. If there's ever been any record of lions doing that when a young male is about to depart. But thanks very much for that, Susan. I will try to find out a bit more information about that for you. Come on, girls, don't stop grooming. Keep grooming. Got to get moving shortly. There we go. Well, football expert, I wonder whether it's American football or, as we call soccer, that you're an expert in. A football expert would like to know whether why the Matimbas are spending more time with the sticks at the moment. It's probably because a couple of those females have been in estrus and they have been seen mating with those females while they're in estrus. But also, on top of that, the Matimbas have left the sticks. They are actually off patrolling, just the two of them in the north and Buffels Hook at the moment. So they are no longer with the Sticks Pride. They were mating with one of the older Sticks females. They seem to have finished mating now and have made their way north on a patrol of the boundaries of their home range. So if it's very possible that they might come join up with the Nkuhumas sometime in the next couple of weeks or days, and it'll be very interesting to see, and hopefully some of the Nkuruma females will be coming to estrus quite shortly. Well, you say hopefully, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. The fact that if they are mating, it means that we have a possibility of cubs, which is always great, but also sadly it means I think Junior's time with his pride will probably come to an end if any of these females do come into estrus, because those big males will definitely not tolerate his presence then. So while we keep a close eye on the lions, and hopefully that grooming that started leads somewhere, we're going to cross back to Scotty and see what he's been up to.
Well, perfect timing, because this is what looks to be the oldest of the 3 cubs, or 4 cubs now, but the 3 slightly older cubs, and he or she just poked her head out of the termite mound. And this was the one that we were initially looking at. So things have heated up a little bit. And like most young animals, they do a good job at keeping themselves entertained. Very curious, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up to give us a little bit of a sniff and check, as they have been quite inquisitive with us over the last few months. And let's take up a closer look up at the top burrow there, Bryan. I think I can see a little bit of extra movement. And I'm not sure, maybe I was dreaming, but I think I may have seen the smallest tiny little black cub poke its head out. There it is, look closely. If you blinked you would have missed it, but it may do it again. The tiny little black cub is in there, and it's been poking its head out. I can just see its eyes actually between the legs of the bigger hyena. Look at how cool this is. It's spying on us. There it is. How awesome. 2 cubs. Completely at ease with one another. Wouldn't it be wonderful to know exactly how much older the one is than the other? Now, I'm just going to have to tap the car, because the one hyena was... Oh, I didn't want to scare all of them. But the one hyena was a little bit too close to us, sniffing at our car, and we don't want them to become too accustomed to the vehicles, to the point that they start chewing on the tires. So I just gave the vehicle a little tap, and now it's retreated a few meters. You're the little culprit. Oh, it may be coming back for more. Uh-oh. I could only see its little nostrils sniffing through a hole in the door, a little crack in the bottom of my door. And Bryan then determined that it would be best if he also gave the vehicle a tap. He could see it, and
it was nibbling.
It was nibbling, according to Bryan, and we don't want to allow that. They must maintain a healthy respect for us, and we must maintain a healthy respect for them, and in doing so, create the safest possible environment for us to coexist. It appears like it may just be going up to the next vehicle to see if they aren't more welcoming. There is another vehicle in the sighting with us. No, it's decided against it. They've got incredibly strong senses of smell, hyena. And I'm told that they are so good at smelling that if a carcass or a bone was dragged across any given piece of earth, if these hyena were to come across it as much as 3 days later, they would be able to get onto that scent trail and track it down to wherever it ended up. Obviously, you've got to take any kind of a fact like that with a pinch of salt. If there was a deluge of rain, that would no longer be applicable, but with average weather conditions, that certainly is plausible. Looks like it may have been chewing on a small shard of bone there. And from time to time the adults will bring back bones and remains of kills for the youngsters to chew on, but it's usually not ready to supplement their diet. The little cub's poking its head out of the hole again inquisitively. It's a pity about these bushes. As the other youngster was nibbling on a branch. And they chew on just about anything they can fit into their jaws, these young hyena. Isn't it so cute? It's very wise at the same time, because if it was too bold and came barreling out of that hole, it would be a very dangerous move for it. Being so small, many carnivores could prey on such a small animal, and it's very good to see it practicing a very cautious kind of behavior now, and it's not coming barreling out with his older cousins. You can probably hear a Cape turtle dove calling in the background. It's just stopped, but I'm just going to keep quiet for a moment or two and let Bryan film around. It's such a beautiful evening. The sun has just dipped below the horizon. And let's just listen for a moment and watch these hyena go about their business. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little moment of silence, but we're going to stay here for as long as we can in case any other hyenas come. But while we wait, why don't you head on across to Brent and see what those lion are up to.
Welcome back, everyone. It looks like that grooming did pay off, and the pride are now on the move. Unfortunately, they are going through some quite thick areas, so watch out. We're going to hear a bit of scratching and stuff, but that's just, it always sounds worse on the microphones. And hopefully we'll be able to stay with them through this incredibly thick area. See them just moving through the bush to my right here. I'm not going to be able to go through there, so I'm going to try to find another way. And they should move through to some slightly more open area shortly, hopefully. Go. Isn't that wonderful? They actually changed direction again now. They're now heading south towards around the Arathusa airstrip.
Fell over.
I saw that they're rolling. Let's just try. I'm worried about them going into these drainage lines here. So we're just going to try stick with having visual with the front ones so we don't lose them. Stations and guided are now mobile south onto Magic Willie. I think they're going to come through. There's this elephant path that's going to come right next to our vehicle here. So moving with purpose. Hopefully they find something to stalk. So we got one, the first lioness going past us now. Well, some of the looks like they're going to go both sides of us. So it is incredible to be in the middle of a pride of lions like this, the apex African predator. There comes Lazy Bones at the back. That was wonderful. So they've actually split around the vehicle. You'll see them joining up again ahead in the road. And for once, I apologize, Junior. You weren't the last in the queue. So we're going to keep following the Nkahumans as they move. We will keep you updated in case they do find anything. But they are about to go into another thick block. Just stop for thorn removal. But while we do that, I hear the second apex predator in our area is out in full force, so we're going to cross across to Scott with the hyenas.
Welcome back, everyone. And now we know for certain that these burrows are interlinked. Look at this little cub poking its head out. Isn't this just awesome? It can't resist playing with its older cousins. But it is very cautious of them. Understandably. It's tiny. And aren't these some great views we're getting of it, so I'm happy we hung around. It's looking on inquisitively at these other two that are sniffing about and chewing on little bits of bone. And it doesn't know if it wants to come flying out of that burrow or back into it. Isn't this wonderful? Well, Martha, good to have you with us. And Martha would like to know, how old is that tiny little black fur ball? We're guessing probably around 3 weeks at this stage. Possibly even somewhere around 4, but I would guess at around 3 weeks. Initially, in all likelihood, her mother would have given birth to her elsewhere. And from a week or 2 of age, she will bring them back to the clan den site. And we do pop in quite regularly, so anywhere from that 1 to 2 week period was the first time we saw this little cub, and we've been viewing it for about an extra week since then, so anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks possibly. Anne, on Twitter, asks an interesting question. She would like to know if this hyena cub knows who its siblings may be, and would this be important to the cub? Yes, I think it certainly will know who its siblings are, because it would have noticed its mother's behavior being very different to her own, to that of other clan members' kids, or offspring rather. So I think it certainly will know who its offspring is, or its siblings are, and it will have an impact on its life. They are often born into a hierarchical lineage, so an alpha female may give birth to another alpha female to be. Anyway, there's action with Brent. We will see you all a bit later.
Welcome back, guys. You see that dark mass just in front of those lions' ears. As I was concentrating on driving, VM just suddenly said to me, "Buffalo, there we go." You saw the tail flick. Junior and the other two have actually stopped and stayed off to the back. One of the lionesses is moving off. They're now assuming this hunting position. Again, unfortunately, it's in very thick bush, but there is an advantage to the lions in this. It doesn't look like a big group of buffalo bulls from what I can see. I can only see one, so maybe our Nkahuma luck has changed. So if we look back at her, we can just see the buffalo definitely doesn't know the lions are here yet. And they're taking a lot of visual cues from each other. Oh, I think the oxpeckers might have spotted them. Heard an oxpecker given not too certain alarm call. I'm confident it hasn't seen the lions just from the way it's reacting. We could see its tail still swishing. It wasn't on high alert. I can still see the tail swishing there. So not on high alert. But we're not going to move the vehicle at the moment. We don't want to make any noise that might cause the buffalo to look this way. And in about 30 seconds, we're not going to be able to see anything apart from, oh, there we go, just the tip of that lion's tail and the black behind the ears. You can see how incredible that sticks out in the bush, and you can see how that would work as a following mechanism. So all the others have disappeared. Junior and the two, oh, there we go, good spot for him. I can't see. Just grab my binoculars quickly. So we can see them moving very, very silently through the bush. That lioness there, Vim, like literally where the buffalo was. You're on her there? So you can just see that black tip of the ear there. Now where we saw that buffalo is probably about 5 meters from there. The other three lionesses are off to the left, probably trying to flank around the front of the buffalo. There's another lioness to the right, and the rest of the three have gone to the left. See more binos, yeah? Oh, there we go. Okay, I can still just make out the buffalo with my binoculars. So I'd guess the closest line to that buffalo is probably now around 12 meters. So not very far at all. The oxpeckers, if we keep quiet, we might be able to hear that low pitch. The buffalo has not moved. He has turned around though, slightly more alert, and that's due to the oxpeckers alarm calling. So far I can only make out one buffalo. Now, they could make a move in the next few seconds. Oh, there's a buffalo's chasing the lion. Okay, and now this is where the other lions might come in behind the buffalo. So the buffalo is actually running right next to us. The lions are on right next to it. Oh, that was a very half-hearted attempt. So basically what happened there is they almost got nose to nose with the buffalo, and then the buffalo decided that offense was the best form of defense, but some of these, they are still jogging down there. I can't see what's going on. We're just going to stick with one line, so if something does happen, she would lead us to there, but I think they gave up there. There you go. They're all around us now. Okay, guys, so that's failed hunt number 7. So we have to, by law of averages, get one of them shortly. One line's still running off after the buffalo, but the rest of them are stationary around us. Oh, I was so excited. I really thought they might have the upper hand this time. Instead of a big group of buffalo bulls, it was a lone bull. Come on in, Kahumas. Nice thick bush. They were able to approach nicely. I really thought they might have a spot of luck. It wasn't amazing that the buffalo ran towards us, chasing the lion. Come on, ladies. So you'll notice Junior is quite often right at the back. He did actually attempt that when that buffalo came storming past us. He did actually attempt. He was one of the four leading lions trying to cut that buffalo off. But quite often he'll hang at the back because he's a male lion, and he'd rather let the ladies do the work and then claim the spoils when he can. But with big prey like buffalo, you'll quite often find that the females will quite often make the initial grab, but then the males will come and will be very instrumental in actually bringing down the animal. So, yes, you should look a little bit sheepish. And here comes Junior. He was the furthest after the buffalo, so he did actually make an effort there. But they are still on the move, which is always good. So that is since we've been watching them since yesterday morning, that is the 3rd failed buffalo hunt that we've watched. Howdy do, Leslie from California. After watching those lions chase a really big animal like a buffalo bull, Leslie would like to know, is it possible for a pride to kill a rhino? It is possible, very unlikely if it's an adult rhino, but I have actually seen a pride, or I didn't see the actual takedown, but from the tracks and whatnot, we found a rhino that was killed by a pride of lions in the Kruger a few years ago, but that was a very big pride. That pride was over 30 individuals. And the rhino was a sub-adult, not an adult. But it is possible. I actually took some really great photographs, if I do say so myself a while ago, of a lioness actually jumping onto the back of a baby rhino before being chased away by the mother rhino. So it is possible, just very uncommon and unlikely. We're not going to be able to climb over that stuff. So And then have to go around this way. Hi, Susie! Susie's wondering, why didn't the buffalo smell the lions? Susie, there's actually very little wind at the moment, so that's probably why. And there's almost actually absolutely zero wind at the moment. And the buffalo would have been alerted to the lions by that oxpecker. We heard that and then he turned to face the lioness, who was probably no more than 4 meters from his nose, and he decided it was probably safer to charge her than it would have been to run away and offer his rump. And for this particular buffalo, that was definitely the right decision, as he managed to escape the rest of the pride. He ran in a direction where the other 3 lions had actually moved off to the other side, so I'm sure if he had run into the other lions, it could have been a very different situation. And that's why a lot of animal hunts are not so successful. There's so many different variables, and it sort of all has to come together at the right time for a really successful hunt. Taking a break. Are the others lying down on the other side? I can't see just yet.
Yeah, they're right there.
Coming in. So they're jogging in is the lioness who put the most effort into that buffalo, and she's only actually catching up with the rest of the pride now. Lynette's making a comment, maybe they're not that hungry that they didn't commit. Well, Lynette, they look quite hungry to me. The reason they probably didn't commit there is because it didn't really go according to sort of plan, and the risk would have outweighed the reward. So the chance of them injuring themselves quite seriously in that situation is probably what stopped them committing. If the buffalo had turned and run away from them, I think it might have been a different story. Or if it ran into the other 3 lions that were trying to move around to the north. Oh, that's going to flick. Okay, Vim?
Yep.
Howdy, Gail from Rhode Island. Thanks for another question, Gail. Gail wants to know if we need to be more careful in the vehicle the more hungry the lions get. Fortunately not, Gail. They don't really see us as a food source, so we're okay. And they've actually made it all the way through to the Arathusa main entrance road. And it looks like they're going to have a little break here. I'm just going to move around. Or not. Some of them look like they might start carry on moving. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there, madam. Don't flick your tail at me, I apologize. Trying to find a way back onto the road that doesn't involve running over a lioness. Oh, nearly lost a blanket to a thorn tree there. Oh, big bump coming, Bill. See, they're not stopping, they are heading out into this woodland again. Very interested. I've never ever seen the Nkahumas in this area before, but they seem to know where they're going. This is very much traditionally sticks country. Stations is Nkahumas are now still mobile south over Safari driveway. I'm coming up right next to you, Viam. You can hear her footsteps in the leaves. Kahumangala mobile south across Safari driveway close to the junction parallel. Just getting everything ready for when we need it just now. Again, a football expert. I would like to know which coalition of male lions is expected to oust the Matimbas. Well, it's very difficult to say. The most likely candidates at the moment are the Birmingham boys. Those are 5 male lions that we see quite often, or hear about quite often to the north of us, and they have come into the Matimbas. They do spend quite a bit of time in the Matimba's home range. But the wonderful thing about having this open system with Kruger is that it could be new male lions that we've never even seen before that come and take over. Charlie would like to know that even when lions make a failed attempt, but a serious failed attempt at a hunt, do they have to rest? It all depends on how long it went on for, and also temperature, time of the day. But normally, if it has been a very, very serious charge where they've sort of expended a large amount of energy, they will want to rest afterwards. So guys, remember, apart from being on this game drive with me live, watching lions attempt to hunt buffalo and other things, we also are interactive, so you are able to ask us questions. And you can do that by emailing us questions at wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. While we keep following these lions to sort of the southeast, away from the rising sun, we're going to hand you over to Scott, who's looking to the west at the setting sun.
Well, it's just such a beautiful evening here. at the treehouse waterhole. Listen to all the birds calling. That sounds like a barred owlet. That you may hear faintly calling out. Earlier we had pearl-spotted owlets calling. You may even see a bat flying through the screen every now and then and get a brief glimpse of it. A small insect-eating bat. But what a wonderful evening it is here. Sadly, no major updates from Bryan and myself. We actually left the higher... Oh, listen to the pearl-spotted owlet. And here it goes again. It sounds like another one. Tiny little owls, smaller than a dove, and both the barred and the pearl-spotted are very similar in size and similar in looks, and both of them singing out this evening. Absolutely wonderful. Occasionally we do get lucky and get visuals of them, but it hasn't been for a while that I've managed to show you one. Maybe this evening we'll get lucky, but interestingly enough, they're actually daytime owls, so they will hunt during the day, and not all owls are specifically nocturnal or strictly nocturnal. I'm not sure if you saw the bat fluttering through screen earlier. Anyway, Brent has got himself into a good position for you, and we'll go and look for something else. Enjoy. See you later.
Welcome back, guys. We're following the Nkuhuma Pride through this really dastardly stuff, and hopefully they're going to come through out into the open up ahead and it won't be so noisy. So just bear with me for a moment. We don't want to lose them while they're on the move, and so far they haven't seemed to have seen anything else since that buffalo ball. Kathy from the sunny and warm Florida would like to know, do lions only hunt at night, or would they ever hunt during the day? Kathy, they would most definitely hunt during the day. Like most animals, or most predators, they are opportunists. So if an opportunity arose for them to hunt during the day, they would. Most of the hunts we've seen them miss and fail at in the last 5 drives have actually been during the day. So we watched them attempt buffalo yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon, both during the day. Unfortunately, they're getting very, very close to our boundary at the moment. I'm really hoping they decide to turn around and head back northwest. But the one lioness has now come out onto our boundary just beyond here. You can see there that sort of white patch in front of us there. That is the boundary road. Are you going the wrong way? As long as she decides to come back to the right. So, Judy, who's logged in recently, we'll give a quick update for everyone who might be wondering exactly what's going on. Judy was wondering, when did the Nkuhumas make their last kill? As I can tell, it's probably 3 nights ago. And something small, because it didn't fill them at all. And now we've been following them, we've watched them miss buffalo 3 times now and stalk 2 other things we couldn't see what they were stalking. So law of odds is that they're gonna catch something sometime, and that's why we're so keen to stick with them. Sorry guys, the game drives are just trying to get hold of me. Liam. How's it, buddy? Sorry, I was just talking. Yeah, I'm still with them. They've just come out onto Triple M south of the Arathusa sign and are mobile south. Watch out there, Liam. You good?
Yeah.
No, don't go that way, lions. One of them are turning off down this road, and that is out of our property. The others are staying on the road. But it looks in general that they are disappearing from us. Liam. Some of the pride have now cut east. I'm not sure the name of the road into Hoffman's. The first left after you head south from Safari driveway on Triple M. Look at those ears, how alert they are. They might take a little rest. Or not. So a follow-up to Judy's original question is that, will the lions hunt through the night? Judy, they can, but normally with lions there'll be bouts of activity followed by bouts of rest. So they will hunt now. This is probably for quite a while, over the next sort of hour or so, and they'll probably sleep for a few hours before starting to hunt again. And unfortunately they are departing us. Hopefully they'll come back north into Djuma tomorrow, judging from the direction they're going. That old Judy, taking up the rear. No. One of the sub-adults coming up. So they're heading into the property to the east of us, called Hoffman's. To the east of Arathusa. Well, I'm still here, old Junior, traipsing along behind us somewhere. disappearing around the corner. I'm going to try and see. Oh. Let me just move back a little bit. And there's the last crossing the boundary. So there we go, the last of them leaving us. I think we might get a last final view as a junior disappears down the road. Listening to where everyone else went, he got quite far left behind this time. Julia from Houston, Texas. Julia would like to know whether lions use termite mounds as vantage points like leopards. They do really, really often. We've watched this pride in particular use, I think in one drive we watched them use about 7 different termite mounds as vantage points. So they do, and even some of the prey species will use termite mounds as vantage points to look out for things like lions and leopards. And they're all gone. So we wish the Nkuhumas well on their endeavors further. Hopefully, whatever they do during the night, they come back to Djuma and come catch something on Djuma. It would be really great if we could catch up with them again in the morning to just keep the story going. I mean, we've been following them for how many drives now? 5. I think between Scott and myself might be 5 or 6 drives that we've been with the Nkuhumas. So it's been really great spending that amount of time with them and watching them go from fat to skinny, and watching them actually attempt quite a lot of hunts. And you can understand now why it is quite difficult for a lion to catch something. There's so many different variables. The buffalo just needs to run 5 meters further the wrong way, and it sort of makes it very difficult for them to catch. So we're going to start maneuvering back towards the Djuma boundary now, and hopefully we bump something in the last couple of minutes as we move. So we're going to cross across to Scotty for a quick update while we start maneuvering down this big main road and have some fun with Scott, and we will see you later.
Welcome back, everyone. Always sad to see the Nkuhuma pride heading off into the unknown without us, but like Brent says, we have spent a lot of time with them over the last few days. Hasn't it been great? We are both, Brent and myself, getting very excited for the day that one of us get to share with you them hunting successfully, as there's been a lot of unsuccessful hunting over there. Basically the whole time we've been here we haven't seen them catch anything. Anyway, that will change, and it'll be good to have you all with us when it does. This area that we're driving through now could hopefully provide us with a bush baby, a really cute nocturnal primate. And I've seen a number of them in this area in the past, so that's what I'm hoping to see amongst any other interesting nocturnal animals that occur out here. Porcupine would be great, or an aardvark, or even a pangolin. It's a crisp, cold evening, and to be honest, quite happy that we are slowly making our way back to camp now, because it starts getting very, very cold once the sun has disappeared. I'm looking forward to the thought of sitting around the campfire this evening and sharing some stories. Alex Foss and Peter Braat have arrived today, so a few newcomers. Andrew's back from leave tomorrow, the other cameraman. And Jamie, oh, hold on, we're in luck. Please don't fly away. By fly away, I mean jump away. We could get lucky. Awesome. We've got lucky. It's a little bush baby. And this is what I was hoping and showing you. It's a nocturnal primate. I'm just going to try and shine the periphery of the torch on it. And look at that very long tail. That helps it balance as it springs through the air. They can jump huge distances. And look at those massive eyes. I think it's going to surprise us all at how far it leaps. Watch here. Boink! That was incredible. That must have been at least 2 meters. From a standstill. Whoa, there it goes again. Off it goes. Well done, Bryan. Well, what an absolute bonus that was to end off the drive. It's been another action-packed afternoon here in the Sabi Sands, and it's been so great sharing the afternoon with all of you. But sadly it is drawing to a close, and we are going to say goodbye and say our thank yous to Bryan on camera, to Nikki who directed the show, and to Tara who was lending her a hand, and of course to all of you, the viewers, for joining in. We're going to send you across to Brent so that he can say goodbye, and look forward to the AM drive with you in the morning.
Welcome back, folks. We're on the boundary. Those lines are somewhere to the south of us here where my spotlight's shining, and I'm hoping that they come through and come back and join us on Juma tomorrow morning. We're just going to get off this main road quickly. Lots of dust, lots of vehicles up and down. So what an exciting day it's been, both the sunrise and sunset safari. We were with the Nkahuma Pride. This morning they weren't very active, but you had such an amazing sighting with Scott at the hyena den. This evening, that buffalo actually chased the lions right past us, right next to us. How unbelievable was that? A really special sighting. Unfortunately for the Nkahumas, they weren't lucky enough to grab that buffalo, but very exciting and great to actually be able to see a little bit more this time compared to the last times we've seen them attempt buffalo hunts. But thanks again very much for everyone who joined us, to all our old viewers. Always great having you on the back of the Game Drive vehicle. To the new viewers, welcome, and please join us again tomorrow for the Sunrise Safari. So from the Wildebeest, aka VM, and myself, have a wonderful morning or evening wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you for the Sunrise Safari.